Health
Number
and wellness
5.
touch each of us
Consider finding
differently.
a therapist.
This is one
It's
person's
important
story.
to know that if your negative
I have
thoughts
yet
are
to meet
persistent,
someone who hasn't
impacting your
struggled with their
quality of life and
self-esteem at some
functioning,
point in
it
their
could be a
life.
sign of
As
something
the
more
saying
serious.
goes, we're often
If
our
you
own
find
worst
these thoughts
critics.
accompanying
This can
issues
show
like
up
depression,
not just in our
anxiety,
careers, but
low
in every
motivation,
area of our
fatigue,
lives.
hopelessness,
As a mental
and
health
more,
blogger,
it's
I
always
hear
best
from
to
leaders
consult
from
a
all walks
therapist
of
or
life,
psychologist to
including
make
those
sure
who
you're
most of
getting the
us would
best
consider
possible
incredibly
support.
successful,
When it
struggling to
comes to
combat the
mental health
negative
conditions
self-talk
like
that
depression
holds
and
them back.
anxiety,
We
it's
are
not
not
as
our
simple as
thoughts,
thinking
we're just
positive
the
thoughts
person
and
listening to
keeping a
them.
journal.
The negative voice that
Having a
nags us
sounding
can
board
really
from an
take toll when it
unbiased
goes
outsider's
unchecked,
perspective
and
can
yet few
sometimes
of us know
totally
how
shift
to
the way
push
you
back.
think.
If the
If
radio
you're
in
not
your
sure
mind
if you can
always
afford
seems to be
therapy,
playing the
this
I'm the
resource
worst
can
song
help you
on
decide
repeat,
on the best
here are
option
some
for
tips
you.
for changing the station.
We can all
Number
feel a
1.
little silly when
Give
we
that
try
critical,
something new,
mean voice in
especially
your
if
head
it
a
doesn't
name.
come naturally.
A friend of mine
But
shared
that
with me
doesn't mean
that,
it'll
in
stay
an
that way
effort to
forever.
challenge how their
When
depression
it comes
skewed
to
their thinking,
self-esteem,
they gave that
remember that
negative
it takes
voice in
time
their
to
head a
build
name.
yourself up.
Brian.
But with a little practice,
Why Brian?
I hope you'll find that your mental health and wellness
it's
is
an
always
anagram
worth the
of the word
effort.
brain.
Clever, yes, but also an important reminder that we are not our thoughts, we're just the person listening to them. So, whatever you name that critical voice, be sure it prevents you from identifying with your thoughts or placing too much weight on them. Think of yourself as the filter, deciding which thoughts to hold on to and which ones to let go. It's so important to separate yourself from negative, self-defeating thoughts. You can't choose your thoughts, but you can work towards creating a healthy distance between your thoughts and yourself. When you hear a self-critical statement pop up in your brain, that you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy, acknowledge it. Thanks for your input, Brian, you might respond. And then affirm that it's not necessarily the truth by asking questions and flipping them around. Does that mistake actually make you a failure, or does it make you imperfect, just like everybody else? Was the outburst from your boss really about your inadequacy, or was it about her bad day? Did your friend not text you back because he doesn't like you, or could it just be that he's busy? There's always another perspective if you slow down enough to find it. Thoughts are just thoughts, but it's easy to forget that when we simply accept them without question. Number 2. Try out a guided meditation. Confession: after experiencing a lot of trauma in my life, my sense of self-worth plummeted. I looked at what had happened to me, and let that pain write a story about who I was, someone who wasn't worthy of care, safety, or agency. At a friend's urging, I decided to try out meditation as a way of coping with trauma. While I was skeptical at first, I was shocked by how much it helped me. Using the app Simple Habit, I worked through Catherine Cook Katoni's Heal from Trauma series, and I found affirmations I hadn't even realized I needed. For example, Cook Katoni talks about moving through recovery at the speed of trust. As someone who has always been impatient with myself, wondering why I couldn't just get over my past trauma, this framework allowed me to be gentler with myself. Recovery requires trust, and trauma is often caused by a violation of trust. Once I became more aware of the negative ideas about myself that I learned from my traumatic experiences, it allowed me to rewrite the negative mental script that my brain likes to repeat. I shouldn't be so surprised, though, after all, there are countless benefits to having a meditation practice, both for emotional health as well as physical. And with so many apps to choose from, it's easier than ever to get started. You can't choose your thoughts, but you can work towards creating a healthy distance between your thoughts and yourself. When you hear a self-critical statement pop up in your brain, that you're not good enough, smart enough, or worthy, acknowledge it. Thanks for your input, Brian, you might respond. And then affirm that it's not necessarily the truth by asking questions and flipping them around. Does that mistake actually make you a failure, or does it make you imperfect, just like everybody else? Was the outburst from your boss really about your inadequacy, or was it about her bad day? Did your friend not text you back because he doesn't like you, or could it just be that he's busy? There's always another perspective if you slow down enough to find it. Thoughts are just thoughts, but it's easy to forget that when we simply accept them without question. Now number 3. Learn how to take a step back. Often, when I'm beating myself up over something, I try to ask myself, what would I say to a friend if they were going through this? If we're able to take a step back and practice a little self-compassion, it can help keep things in perspective. Can you picture someone that you love and put them in your shoes? What would you say or do to support them? This doesn't come naturally for everyone, though. I love using the app Wiza when I'm struggling with this. It's an interactive chatbot, sort of like a life coach in your pocket, developed by a team of psychologists and designers. It uses artificial intelligence to help you challenge self-defeating thoughts and behaviors, using different behavioral therapy and self-care techniques. For example, Wiza helps you learn to identify something called cognitive distortions, which are the lies our brain frequently tells us. Maybe you're jumping to conclusions, assigning the blame to yourself where it's not appropriate, or overgeneralizing. Wiza can talk you through identifying patterns like these, seeing where it isn't helpful or accurate, and finding new ways of thinking about an issue or event. If you need a little help keeping things in perspective, a chatbot like Wiza can be a great resource. Number 4. Start keeping a journal. Journaling can be great for getting stuff off your chest. In addition to being cathartic, journaling is also a terrific way to become more self-aware. Often, we aren't challenging our negative thoughts because we aren't always aware when they're happening, but writing regularly can help a lot with that. One exercise that's helped me a lot is to create a simple 2-column journal. In the first column, I keep notes on any criticisms I have of myself throughout the day. When I get a minute, I take a look at the thoughts I've racked up in that column, and in the second column, I rewrite them. This time, I look for a more empowering or positive way to reframe what I wrote. For example, if I wrote I made a stupid mistake at my job in the left column, I might rewrite that as, I learned a better way to do something in my job, so now I can improve. If I wrote I hate how gross my skin looks, I might rewrite that as, I didn't like how my skin looked today, but my outfit was amazing. It might sound cheesy, but self-esteem takes rehearsing and it takes practice. Finding a private space like a journal to try on a new attitude can help us learn to shift our perspective. Number 5. Consider finding a therapist. It's important to know that if your negative thoughts are persistent, impacting your quality of life and functioning, it could be a sign of something more serious. If you find these thoughts accompanying issues like depression, anxiety, low motivation, fatigue, hopelessness, and more, it's always best to consult a therapist or psychologist to make sure you're getting the best possible support. When it comes to mental health conditions like depression and anxiety, it's not as simple as thinking positive thoughts and keeping a journal. Having a sounding board from an unbiased outsider's perspective can sometimes totally shift the way you think. If you're not sure if you can afford therapy, this resource can help you decide on the best option for you. We can all feel a little silly when we try something new, especially if it doesn't come naturally. But that doesn't mean it'll stay that way forever. When it comes to self-esteem, remember that it takes time to build yourself up. But with a little practice, I hope you'll find that your mental health and wellness is always worth the effort.